Welcome back to the Winter Studio projects. In the last couple of projects, we have been concentrating on water droplets. In this project, we're going to invert that and we're going to work with bubbles in water. So let's get started very quickly into this project, which is the opposite to what we've been doing in the last couple of projects. We're going to be working with air bubbles in water. So for that, the main essential ingredient you need is a container to put your air bubbles in. Now don't use a massive aquarium because it's going to take a lot of water to fill it up. It's going to take a lot more time for you to empty it and clean it and so on. So what I found useful is a container like this. This only cost me £2. And what's important when it comes to the container that contains the water is it needs to be clear, not have any colour cast, so it doesn't want to be changing colour as you look through it. I found glass is the best. If you can find a small glass container that's square, then use that. You don't want rounded edges because that's going to distort your image. You want it to be flat on. And if you're in any kind of doubt, then when you're shopping around in the shop, hold up your container and look through it and see, is there any distortion or any colour cast in there. This one I found, it's a plastic one, only cost me £2, and it's not 100% perfect, but it's good enough to get us done. So don't stress too much about getting a perfect container to start this project. To put into the water, we're going to use some fruit, just single fruit that we are going to be putting in just to have some sort of subject. And again, like I've said in previous projects, I'm just going to give you the basics to get started. It's up to you to make it more creative and more interesting. You're the one that is going to create the artwork. To get started, what we want to do is sort out this container. So I'm going to take the stickers off because we don't want those on there. Now the residue from the sticker isn't going to be a major issue because we'll use this side here, and again we'll be using a macro lens, so anything on this side of the container will be blurred. If it causes us any issues, then we can simply turn the container around and shoot through this way. If you're doing this, I'll take the bottom one off because the setup we used in the last project, we can also place this onto a glass pane and have our lights come up and shoot down through it. So give that a go if you've got time on your hands. For now, I'm just going to stick to the standard way of doing it so that you've got something to start with at home. All we want to do then is, once we've done that, is I'm just going to put some water into it. Now to keep things tidy, have some kitchen towel on hand just in case of any spillages. I'm going to turn the container around so that facing the right way. I'm going to have it over here for a couple of reasons. I'm going to have a camera on a tripod, and we have the side camera, hello, just there, so we can see what's going on. Now you might be able to see little bits floating in the water. I'm not that bothered. If you want to be a purist, sort that out. So filter the water, clean the containers and all that if you want to. Again, for me demonstrating how to start this project, I don't need to, so I don't have to worry about that. Right, I'm going to turn on my camera, and again, as with previous project, it is plugged into my computer to record the EVF. First thing I need to do is set up the camera, and I'll probably focus on the front part of the container just here. So what I want to do is, rather than mess around with the camera, you just set up the camera. I'll move the container into the area we want to look at. So we're looking at something about there, okay? That's just set up roughly, because what we want to do first is we want to set up our fruit. That gives us something to focus on, because when you put it in, it's going to float around, so you need to be changing your focusing. If you want your fruit to keep absolutely still, then what you can do is set up some sort of rig on top of your container with fishing line that holds the fruit in place. I don't want to complicate things because I don't want you to have to go out and get fishing line, get this, get that, all that. I don't want none of that. I just want you to be able to get a container that hopefully you've already got at home and just start doing this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into slices, and this is some nice practice for later on. So we're going to place this in there now, and it's just going to sit there. Okay, so we've got something on the go there. We're going to need some light. So using the same LED panels we used in the last couple of projects, I'm just going to light it up. I'm going to place that to the side, and we will adjust let's have a look. ISO is at 200, that's okay. That's the base ISO for this camera. If you're using full frame, put it to 100. That's your base ISO. That's going to give you the cleanest results possible. I'm at F5, and I'm just going to put the shutter speed up until we get a half decent exposure. There we go. So you can see there, we're getting the odd little bubble that's starting to turn up that we want to focus on. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to punch in on that one bubble just there. Okay, there. See that bubble just there? That's the one I'm going to focus on, since it's about the only one that's actually in the frame. We're at 320, F5, ISO 200. I'm going to put on a 2-second timer, same as we've done with all of the other ones. And because we got bubbles that are moving around, we got water that's moving around, we can't really use high res shot. Now, if I was to keep absolutely still, not touch this for half an hour, we could use high res shot. In half an hour, there'll be a lot more bubbles on there as well for us to photograph. But I just want to get into teaching you, get you into starting this project. So we'll take a picture there. There's something that's interesting. And again, as always, the key to getting something interesting isn't the camera gear, and it's not anything that's on there, it's light. So we're going to bring up another LED light. This time we're going to introduce some color, and you might want to be a little bit careful when placing the lights because everything we do is going to shake the water. So there we have something interesting there. Now I'm also going to pull out some background cards, stick it in the background there. So if you look there, we're just changing that background. What about a yellow? Ooh, okay. I'm going to put a yellow in the background. So what I want to do is change the colour of this. But before I do that, I want to take a picture just to document how it changes over time. And again, I'm just going to have a play with the shutter speed. And then I'm going to change the colour of my light. And you notice, I'm not looking at the light, I'm looking at the screen. Okay, we've gone for a green. I want to overexpose these images slightly, I think. That is the basics of how this project works. We put things into water, we wait for bubbles to form, and then we take pictures. However, you might not have time to wait, particularly if you're married. If you're married, you ain't got time to wait for bubbles, so we're going to show you something else if you've got a little bit more of a budget. I'm going to take this water and I'm going to put it away, hopefully without spilling it all over the place. I'm going to place that onto a kitchen towel. FYI, for anyone who understands light, that will also bounce the light up from my video lights to help with the lighting. But what we want to do is we want to create bubbles quickly. We don't want to wait around half an hour for the bubbles to form. So that's the way we're going to use some very cheap and inexpensive lemonade. This is like 50p a bottle. So if you can afford the extra 50p, go for some lemonade. So let's fill up our container with some lemonade. And this is one of the reasons why I said to use a small container, because if you don't use a small container, it's going to cost you a fortune in lemonade. And lemonade, the rest of that bottle the kids can have for their dinner. But before we dive into the next part, I just want to say a massive thank you to my Patreon supporters. Your generosity makes making these type of videos possible, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you'd like to join the community and get access to exclusive content, behind the scenes updates and more, check out my Patreon. The link is in the description below. What we have now is the realization that you can't use high-res shot. Let me put in the light here. And you can see those bubbles there. With all that movement, there's no way you're using high-res shot. I'll be sticking to the normal standard shot for this. There we go. Look at those beautiful bubbles. So what I want to do is, let's have a look. Let's put our background back in. And again, for anyone who's interested, we can put stuff in the background here. For this project, we're just going to stick to a background card. And the same piece of lime I'm going to pop in. And this is where you're going to notice an issue. Because in lemonade, our lime floats. So this is where you're going to want to hold it in place if possible. Now, since we're not doing high-res shot, we can afford to do that. So I can just hold it there. There we go. I'll do my focus. And I want a bit of the peel in there, and we'll take a picture. And again, because we're using a 1/400th of a second, it doesn't really matter much about holding it. There we go. Now I can move this lime further back. There we go. Some interesting shot. Now let's bring in our light again. Again, I can't stress it more. The key to photography is light. Now you see that one's blurred because I moved. So you are going to get some that are going to be blurred. Again, you can use autofocus if you want to. Bit of an abstract-y looking image there, isn't it? Right, so what I want you to do is go off and experiment with that. However, there is a way of freezing the bubbles in place if you have available a flash system. I'm going to pull out my trusty old Godox MF12 twin macro flash system. So these are the twin macro flashes I use on my Canon macro setup. So it's not fully compatible with my Olympus. However, because it has a central pin on the trigger, we can still trigger the flashes. And I shall turn on one flash, and I'm going to put it to the side. And we have to set this up manually, because again, they're not fully compatible with the Olympus system. And let's turn on focusing LEDs. Gives us a little bit of light to help with focusing. Yeah, I'm just going to take a picture of the bubbles just to see what it looks like. Because we're on manual, we're going to have to expose correctly for this. Now, we've got some white in the background. I'm not too sure where that is. I'm going to guess that's the kitchen towel. So I'm going to put the card in the background, take another shot. If you've got something in the shot that's bugging you, just keep taking pictures till you can find out what it is. Could be our shutter speed. Because again, because it's not compatible, it's not turning down my shutter speed. There we go. Okay. So because we're using flash now, these are a lot more powerful than the LEDs, which means we're able now to put up our f-stop a little bit. So I'm going to go to F10. We'll take another shot. There we go. We're starting to get something now. We need to turn it down even more. Now, we do have the option of either putting up our f-stop, putting down our ISO, or in this case, because we're using flash, we can turn down the power on the flash. I'm going to go to 164. We was on 116. And again, if you are using LED lights, you can put up your ISO to get a quicker shutter speed. Okay, that will freeze your action. But I highly recommend, if you've got access to a flash system, to use the flashes. Right, so we've got something that's looking half decent. I'm going to put our lemon peel back in, lemon slice I should say, not peel. And you notice I can't see a thing. For that, we're going to bring in the LED, which won't affect our exposure much because our flash is going to overwrite it, hopefully. Let's bring the lime in. There we go. We're getting something interesting now. So what I'm going to do is turn them to 1/28 power. 1/28. We'll bring in the light again. This light is just for focusing. We're not seeing much in our viewfinder, so we're going to turn on our night vision mode. And again, this is on an Olympus camera, but on all camera systems you have it's like exposure simulation. Night vision, I'm going to turn that on. What it's going to do is it's going to boost the EVF so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so again, if you don't have access to that feature, then you would use the LED to help light the scene. If you have got access to it, then you would use the live view boost. So now we can get to playing with this. Now again, I'm not really bothered about my white balance. Again, I'm using 5500 LEDs in here and I have the flash. Let's change our fruit. We're going to get some kiwi fruit. Anyone who's got a UV torch as well, these are brilliant for UV photography. Right, let's place that in our water. I'm going to back it off a bit so we can see the seeds. And as you can see as well, I'm not overly complicating matters. I'm just eyeballing what looks good on the screen. So I'm not worried about hitting critical focus. We're at F10. We're going to get roughly where it is. Again, if you want to get critical focus, you want to be more technical when setting up your scene, you can do that. But I just want to show you that you don't have to. If you're using a flash system, we can change the color of our light using some gels. So I'm going to pull out my usual red and blue gels. And these gels, they came with the flash system. With the MF12, you get the gel packs as well. So you just clip them on there like that, look. Let me turn off the light, there you go. So they just literally clip on over the front of the flash. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them in the same spot I did before. Exactly the same, so as I can show you the difference with gelling your flashes compared to not gelling them. So let's put our kiwi fruit in the frame. We'll focus again. Ooh, interesting. the red is overwriting the blue. So I'm going to move the red back a little bit. So instead of adjusting the numbers, having to get my hand out the water to do it, I just moved it back. So what we've learned so far is using fizzy pop is a lot better to get the water. Oh, hello, look at that. Like something out of a space film, isn't it? So again, what we've learned here now is that changing your fruit can give you a different look. Changing the liquid can give you a different look. You can have water and just wait if you're patient, but I suggest you go down the shop and get some lemonade. But again, for the third project in a row, lighting is key. I can't say it more. Lighting is the key to photography. Now watch this. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to place this flash. I'm going to put it behind, and what I'm going to do is shoot through the fruit. So hopefully I've cut it thin enough. If not, we'll do a new slice. But if you look at this now, see there? Now, I haven't changed any settings, so obviously we are going to have to change settings. I just want to see how bright it is. So for that, I would have to change my settings a little bit. So I think we're better off putting our f-stop up, because our flash is already at minimum. Let's get some more kitchen towels, because the final thing I'm going to do is gel that flash. So let's put the blue one on there. Get our kiwi fruit again. Pop him in there. Now that one, we've got to open up our f-stop for that one because it's quite dark. There we go. A little bit of a like abstract look. If you're worried about hitting critical focus, then what we can do is turn on a continuous burst mode. So we'll turn off the 2-second timer, which with flash isn't needed. Okay, the 2-second timer is mostly when you're dealing with the LED lights and that. The reason I have the 2-second timer on, it gives me time to rock the fruit back and forward to get the focusing perfect on my viewfinder. Now remember, you're going to be using the camera screen. I'm using this monitor. But if you're struggling to hit critical focus, then what we can do is, again, just turn on your sequential mode, or on some cameras it's called continuous, I believe, and then hold down the button. So are we ready? There we go. Let's bring it forward a little bit. I'm going to bring the seed to the top left-hand corner. There we go. Oh yeah, interesting pictures. Now again, I want you to keep asking to yourself, what if? When you want to be creative in photography, what if is the best question you can have. So what if we change the gel from blue to red? In we go. Get our fruit again. In he goes. I'm going to place it to the top corner again. So we've got like an image that would come from hell itself. So I'm going to go away now, and I'm going to take those pictures into Lightroom, and I'm going to show you the final results now. The images that you are seeing now, they've been cleaned up and edited using my macro presets version 3. If you're interested in my presets, then check out the link in the description and help support the channel. But that's it from this project. Go to your shop, get some lemonade, get a container, get some fruit, and start photographing the bubbles that are produced by the lemonade onto your fruit. Upload them to Instagram and tag me on Instagram at sstewartwoodart for me to take a look at your images. I'd really like to take a look at them. I want to thank you for getting to the end of this video, and I'll see you on next week's project.